Okay, let us start today's story. It's titled Beyond the Pale, and this is one of the stories in Rudyard Kipling's collection, Plain Tales from the Hills. And this story starts like this. A man should, whatever happens, keep to his own caste, race, and breed. Let the white go to the white, and the black go to the black. Then whatever trouble falls is in the ordinary course of things, neither sudden, nor alien, nor unexpected. This is the story of a man who willfully stepped beyond the safe limits of decent everyday society and paid for it heavily. He knew too much in the first instance, and he saw too much in the second. He took too deep an interest in native life, but he will never do so again. So he took a deep interest in native life means he is obviously a white man, Englishman, and he took a deep interest in the native, local Indian people living in their lives. And he'll never do so again. Now he's come to the location. This is deep away in the heart of the city. Behind Jita Meghji's Basti lies Amirnath's Gully. So the gully means a small lane. So it's called Amirnath's Gully. Behind Jita Meghji's Basti. There's a Basti is a small group of houses, a village, not a village, but a shanty town. And behind that, there's a gully, means a small lane, called Amirnath's Gully, which ends in a dead wall pierced by one grated window. So there's a shanty town, behind that is a small lane, narrow lane, and it ends in a wall, dead wall with a grated window. That's the only opening. At the head of the gully is a big cow byre. So as you enter that gully, there's a cow byre. I think it must be a cow shed, something. And the walls on either side of the gully are without windows. So you enter it and go straight in. There's wall on either side, no windows. And at the end, there is a wall with one grated window. That's it. Neither Suchet Singh nor Gaur Chand, these are the people who are occupying the place, approve of their women folk looking into the world. If Durga Charan had been of their opinion, so we are having Suchet Singh and Gaur Chand. And this is a third guy, Durga Charan. If Durga Charan had been of their opinion, he would have been a happier man today. And little Bisesha would have been able to knead her own bread. So now this little Bisesha is a girl and she is young. And Durga Charan's somebody, his maybe daughter, I don't know. We'll find out. Her room looked out through the grated window into the narrow, dark gully where the sun never came and where the buffaloes wallowed in the blue slime. So at the end of this gully is a grated window, and this girl Bisesha has a room there. And prima facie, she is a Durga Charan's house. She must be somebody of hers, of Durga Charan. And Bisesha has a room, and her room looked out through the grated window into the narrow, dark gully. Gully is again a small lane on the other side of the window, where the sun never came and where the buffaloes wallowed in the blue slime. So that was a dirty gully and not having any sunlight, and the slime on the gully was all, it was slush, water and dirt, and the buffaloes would wallow in that. If Durga Charan had been of their opinion, he would have been a happier man today, and little Bisesha would have been able to knead her own bread. So um, these two guys, Sucheta Singh and Gaur Chand, they did not approve of their women folk looking into the world. That is why everything is closed and there is only one grated window. But this other guy, Durga Charan, has a different opinion. And this little girl, Bisesha, is Durga Charan somebody. Durga Charan's opinion is different. And because his opinion is different, all this tragedy is happening. Her room looked out through the grated window into the narrow dark gully. So the outside of that other side of the grated window is this dark gully where there is no sunshine. It's all slush and slime, and buffaloes wallow in that dirt. This girl Bisesha was a widow, about 15 years old, and she prayed to the gods day and night to send her a lover, for she did not approve of living alone. One day, the man, Trijago, his name was, the man's name is Trijago, came into Amir Nath's gully. So this gully is Amir Nath's gully. So one day this Trijago came to Amir Nath's gully on an aimless wandering, and after he had passed the buffaloes, stumbled over a big heap of cattle food. So he sidestepped the buffaloes and then he fell on a big heap of cattle food. Then he saw that the gully ended in a trap and heard a little laugh from behind the grated window. It was a pretty little laugh. And Trijago, knowing that for all practical purposes, the old Arabian Nights are good guides, he went forward to the window and whispered a song, the first line of a song. So that is how this thing is setting. So the situation is set like that. So he falls, and somebody laughs from the other side of the grated window. So he goes to the window and then he sings one line of a song. And then what happens? He hears a laugh on the other side and there's a response. There came the faint chink of a woman's bracelets from behind the grating, and the little voice went on with this song at the next verse. So he sang one line, the voice on the other side of the grated window, it was a female voice, and it was wearing bracelets, women's bracelets, and it sang the next verse. And then he sang another verse, and then the voice sang another verse. The voice stopped suddenly, and Trijago walked out of Amarnath's gully, wondering who in the world could have sung the next line of that song. Next morning, as he was driving to office, an old woman threw a packet into his dog cart. He was driving home. It's not a car. This is a time period about between 150 to 200 years ago in India, in rural India. I don't know which town it is located in. So it is a dog cart with maybe a dog is pulling a cart with something in it or whatever. So a woman threw a packet into his dog cart. In the packet was the half of a broken glass bangle, one flower of the blood red dhak, a pinch of busa. Now dhak is that the flame of the forest flower. So one flower of that flame of the forest flower, a pinch of busa, a little bit of cattle feed, this straw, and 11 cardamoms. That packet was a letter, not a clumsy, compromising letter, but an innocent, unintelligible lover's epistle. So, this an old woman, she threw the packet. This packet contained these items. And this packet was not just something, it was a letter. It was a it was letter somebody has to understand. It doesn't compromise anybody because it had some one bit of a broken bangle, it had one flower, and it had little busa, that is straw, which is fed to cattle, and it had 11 cardamoms. So you have to figure it out. Trijago knew far too much about these things, as I have said. No Englishman should be able to translate object letters. But Trijago spread all the trifles on the lid of his office box and began to puzzle them out. That's interesting. So this guy is an Englishman and he tries to figure out the puzzle. A broken glass bangle stands for a Hindu widow all India over, because it's a glass bangle, and when a female is widowed, her bangles are broken. And because when her husband dies, a woman's bracelets are broken on her wrists. Trijago saw the meaning of the little bit of glass. The flower of the dhak means diversely desire, come, right, or danger. So that that flower, red flower, flame of the forest flower, could mean desire. It could mean come, an invitation. It could mean write to me, or it could mean danger, according to the other things with it. One cardamom means jealousy, but when any article is duplicated in an object letter, it loses its symbolic meaning. So one cardamom means jealousy, but when there's more than one, that is not the meaning. So it stands merely for one of a number indicating time, or if incense, curds, or saffron be sent, also place. Oh, so it indicates the number of days or week or whatever, and if incense, curds, or saffron is be sent, also the place. The message ran then: a widow, dark flower. First is the broken bangle, a widow. The flower is desires, or 11 o'clock, 11 cardamom, so 11 o'clock. The pinch of busa enlightened Trijago. He saw this kind of letter leaves much to instinctive knowledge, that the busa referred to the big heap of cattle food over which he had fallen in Amirnath's gully, and that the message must come from the person behind the grating, she being a widow. So the message ran, it has to be read as: a widow in the gully in which the heap of busa is lying desires you to come at 11 o'clock. Trijago threw all the rubbish into the fireplace and laughed. He knew that men in the East do not make love under windows at 11 in the forenoon, nor do women fix appointments a week in advance. So he went that very night at 11 into Amirnath's gully, clad in a burqa. That is to say, he disguised himself by putting a burqa, which is a dark cloth covering head to toe. So somebody seeing that can only see a shadow moving, not know whether it's a male or a female. So he, clad in a burqa, he went in that very night. Directly the gongs of the city made the hour, the little voice behind the grating took up that same song, the next line of the song. And at the verse where he had stopped. And The song in real, then these songs are all written in English, which has no lyrical sense like the Hindi or the Urdu words in the original. So I won't bore you with this song. The song is really pretty in the vernacular. In English, you miss the wail of it. It runs, and then he has given the translation of it. Alone upon the housetops, below my feet, my father's wife is old, and harsh with years, and drudge of all my father's house am I. My bread is sorrow, my drink is tears. Come back to me, beloved, or I die, and all that. That's the song. And it seems to be a song which they all knew because it was a common song in that area. As the song stopped, Trijago stepped up under the grating and whispered, I am here. Vishesha was good to look upon. That night was the beginning of many strange things and of a double life so wild that Trijago today sometimes wonders if it were not all a dream. Vishesha, or her old handmaiden, who had thrown the object letter, had detached the heavy grating from the brickwork of the wall so that the window slid inside, leaving only a square of raw masonry into which an active man might climb. So, the grating had been loosened and it could be drawn inside the room so that the man outside, Trijago, could climb into the window. In the daytime, Trijago drove through his routine of office work or put on his calling clothes and called on the ladies of the station, wondering how long they would know him if they knew of poor little Bisesha. At night, when all the city was still, came the walk under the evil-smelling burqa, the patrol through the Jitha Meghji's basti, the quick turn into Amirnath's gully, between the sleeping cattle and the dead walls, and then last of all, Bisesha, and the deep, even breathing of the old woman who slept outside the door of the bare little room that Durga Charan allotted to his sister's daughter. So, this Bisesha is the daughter of the sister of Durga Charan that we know now. Who or what Durga Charan was, Trijago never inquired, and why in the world he was not discovered and never occurred to him till his madness was over and Bisesha. Wait, this comes later. We'll talk about what happened later. Bisesha was an endless delight to Trijago. She was as ignorant as a bird, and her distorted versions of the rumors from the outside world that had reached her in her room amused Trijago almost as much as her lisping attempts to pronounce his name Christopher. So she tried to call his name as Christopher, but she had difficulty in getting those sounds into her tongue, and her lisping attempts gave him endless delight. The first syllable was always more than she could manage, the Chris, and she made funny little gestures with her rose leaf hands as one throwing the name away. And then kneeling before Trijago, asked him exactly as an English woman would do if he were sure he loved her. Trijago swore that he loved her more than anyone else in the world, which was true. After a month of this folly, the exigencies of his other life compelled Trijago to be especially attentive to a lady of his acquaintance. You may take it for a fact that anything of this kind is not only noticed and discussed by a man's own race, but by some 150 natives as well. Trijago had to walk with this lady and talk to her at the bandstand, and once or twice to drive with her, never for an instant dreaming that this should affect his dearer, out of the way life. But the news flew in the usual mysterious fashion from mouth to mouth, till Bisesha heard of it and told Bisesha's servant heard of it and told Bisesha. The child was so troubled that she did the household work evilly and was beaten by Durga Charan's wife in consequence. So she got upset because she had heard that this Trijago was meeting some other woman, and so she did a sloppy housework, so she was beaten. A week later, Bisesha taxed Trijago with the flirtation. She understood no gradations and spoke openly. Trijago laughed, and Bisesha stamped her little feet light as marigold flowers that could lie in the palm of a man's one hand. Much that is written about Oriental passion and impulsiveness is exaggerated and compiled at second hand. But a little of it is true. And when the Englishman finds that little, it is quite as startling as any passion in his own proper life. Bisesha raged and stormed, and finally threatened to kill herself if Trijago did not at once drop the alien Mem Sahib who had come between them. So Trijago had to travel with or talk with that other lady who is obviously a white woman, and 2-3 times he had to drive with her for some work. And this girl Bisesha had heard of it, and she was creating a scene. Bisesha raged and stormed and finally threatened to kill herself if Trijago did not at once drop the alien Memsab who had come between them. Trijago tried to explain and to show her that she did not understand these things from a Western standpoint. Bisesha drew herself up and said simply, I do not. I know only this. It is not good that I should have made you dearer than my own heart in me. So you are an Englishman, I am only a black girl. She was fairer than bar gold at the mint and the widow of a black man. So she said that. Bisesha said, I am only a black girl and I am the widow of a black man. So I should not have allowed you to come so near. Even though she was as fair as a bar gold. Then she sobbed and said, but on my soul and my mother's soul, I love you. There shall be no harm come to you, whatever happens to me. Trijago argued with the child and tried to soothe her, but she seemed quite unreasonably disturbed. Nothing would satisfy her save that all relations between them should end. He was to go away at once, and he went. As he dropped out of the window, she kissed his forehead twice, and he walked home wondering. A week and then 3 weeks passed without a sign from Bisesha. Trijago, thinking that the rupture had lasted quite long enough, went down to Amarnath's gully for the 5th time in 3 weeks, hoping that his rap at the sill of the shifting grating would be answered. He was not disappointed. There was a young moon, and one stream of light fell down into Amarnath's gully and struck the grating, which was drawn away as he knocked. From the black dark, Bisesha held out her arms into the moonlight. Both hands had been cut off at the wrists, and the stumps were nearly healed. Then, as Bisesha bowed her head between her arms and sobbed, someone in the room grunted like a wild beast, and something sharp A knife, sword, or spear thrust at Trijago in his burqa. The stroke missed his body but cut into one of the muscles of the groin, and he limped slightly from the wound for the rest of his life. The grating went into its place. There was no sign whatever from inside the house. Nothing but the moonlight strip on the high wall and the blackness of Amirnath's gully behind. The next thing that Trijago remembers after raging and shouting like a madman between those pitiless walls is that he found himself near the river as the dawn was breaking, threw away his burqa and went home bareheaded. What was the tragedy? Whether Bisesha had, in a fit of causeless despair, told everything, or the intrigue had been discovered and she tortured to tell, whether Durga Charan knew his name and what became of Bisesha, Trijago does not know to this day. Something horrible had happened, and the thought of what it must have been comes upon Trijago in the night now and again, and keeps him company till the morning. One special feature of the case is that he does not know where lies the front of Durga Charan's house. It may open onto a courtyard common to two or more houses, or it may lie behind any one of the gates of Jitamekji's basti. Trijago cannot tell. He cannot get Bisesha, poor little Bisesha, back again. He has lost her in the city, where each man's house is as guarded as the unknowable, as guarded and as unknowable as the grave, and the grating that opens into Amirnath's gully has been walled up. But Trijago pays his calls regularly and is reckoned a very decent sort of man. There is nothing peculiar about him except a slight stiffness caused by a riding strain in the right leg. Now that's the end of the story. Something interesting for a turn. This is a rather different type of story. This is beyond the pale. That's nice. We'll have another story another day. I hope you liked it. That's good. I liked it. Yes. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Dad.
Thank you for birthday wishes.